Hey, it's Coach Renee. I am here at Panera Bread, and you can probably hear in the background some loud noises. If you can't, well, let's just say I can. There's some loud screaming and crying from a very unhappy little individual. And the reason that I'm going ahead and choosing to share this with you is because it is part of what I want to share with you today. Ever have a situation where you are frustrated? Okay, say yes in the comments if so. And if I don't see yeses, then I know that y'all are lying. And that's frustrating, right? Actually, it doesn't have to be. So today we're going to talk about, and I'm going to coach you through how you do not have to be frustrated, how you actually get to choose whether you're frustrated or not, and how you can win over the frustration in your life. See, frustration is actually a precursor to anger. And anger is an emotion that we need to have. It's something that God's given us for a reason. But if it's left unchecked, and if it's something that we continue to have fester in our life, it's actually going to, oh gosh, I hope you can actually hear me. But anger is going to wreck our lives. It's going to ruin our lives if it goes unchecked, right? And if it's not in alignment with the right situation. So frustration is something that we want to take control of ahead of time. We want to evaluate it and figure out whether or not we should have it in our life right now. So let's go through real quick and let me know in the comments, what are some of the reasons that you get frustrated? And please do not, just like I always say, we never want to throw anybody under the bus. We do not want to put names that are going to be hurtful. So it may be your spouse, it may be your kids, it may be situations that they put you through. It may be, hey, good to see you, Andy. It might be like these two moms that are in front of me. By the way, I'm at Panera Bread today, and they have at least four kids with them. And a couple of them are really unhappy. And if you were in that situation, you probably would be frustrated, right? Be like, oh my gosh, they're screaming, they're being disruptive, and I just want to talk with my friend. Well, what are some others? I'll tell you some of my frustrations. I oftentimes will get to work, and I have the things that I don't want to do. And I'm like, I'm going to get this done. I'm going to do it. And unfortunately, it all goes to pot. Like basically, I will get on there and it might be ClickFunnels. It might be all these different technology things that I need to do and platforms online that will just not work right for me. That is frustrating. Like that is where a lot of my frustration comes into play, aside from parenting, right? Some other things we get frustrated about. It could be in line at the grocery store and you see someone in front of you and they're just taking too darn long, or they're counting their pennies and you're like, I just got to get to work. Kelly says, I felt this last couple of days. And yes, inventory. Why is this happening? Expectations. Boom. That is huge. That is huge. So our expectations. Frustration comes when we have expectations of how something should be and what it should look like. And then it doesn't look that way. Or it doesn't our plan is totally forfeited. And we're like, what the heck? That's so frustrating. Seems like nothing is working out right. And you might hear me say this, like, I just can't win, right? You ever say that? Just can't win? Okay. Well, I'm going to teach you today how to win over frustration. Like literally, it's the secret to not getting frustrated. Now, I want to have a little disclaimer up front. And by the way, the kiddos just left so I can think a little bit more here at Panera Bread. But this is something that you are going to be able to put as a tool in your toolbox. I'm going to give you the disclaimer, though, that you will not always do it perfectly. So no shame when you don't. And it's something that is going to be ongoing. You're going to continue to work that muscle, making sure that you're doing it more often. You might get some accountability or something like that along it. But just know that even though this is the secret to not getting frustrated and not carrying out those frustrations throughout your day, it will not always work perfectly. So give yourself some grace, okay? And Andy says, when you make decisions with hope for a good outcome and things don't happen as you thought. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Again, expectations, right? Like I had a dear counselor that she was amazing. And one thing she always told me was, Renee, expectations are deadly. They're deadly. Yes. Now we have to have some expectations, but here's what I want you to be able to expect today. I want you to claim the truth that you can have control over frustration. Okay. here's what you're going to do. So if you're a note taker, go ahead, or if you want to go ahead and put some of your nuggets and your takeaways in the comments, and that way others can glean from them too. So first thing I want you to do is I want you to think of the win method. You've heard me say this so many times, but I'm going to teach you how you can actually use this through frustration to win over frustration, okay? I want you to weigh the cost of that frustration. I want you to do what Lene said down in the comments about how basically she looked at her expectations and thought of where should they be, combined with a feeling of not adding value, all of that. Like, why are you feeling frustrated? Like, figure that out and then weigh the cost of that. So I was feeling frustrated. I'm going to take you through this example. I was feeling frustrated when I came here to Panera Bread. I know that I only have a certain amount of time, okay? Like literally I have, I think 3 hours before I need to go pick up my daughter after dropping her off. So I get my coffee, I've got my water, I've got my phone that I need to use at times, and I've got my notes that I need to use, and I have my computer. The Wi-Fi is actually working because sometimes that's a frustration. And lo and behold, who comes and sits right in front of me? 2 young moms with 4 young children. That's great. I love kids. I love them. And I love seeing young moms get together and make those things work. However, what I will tell you is when the little one in the stroller started screaming, and I'm like trying to think and work, and I'm someone with ADHD who is very distracted anyway, it was a little frustrating. It really was, to be honest. I started to get frustrated. So here's what I did. I weighed the cost of that. I thought about it and I'm like, what is it going to benefit me if I add frustration to distraction? Well, it's going to raise my blood pressure. It's going to get my prefrontal cortex thinking more about what I'm frustrating at, what's in front of me, instead of what I actually want to be doing right now. So really, it's going to be a negative thing. Okay, well, let me think again. I'm weighing that cost, right? I'm playing this out in my mind, weighing the cost. If I'm frustrated right now, am I going to be able to add any kind of benefit? Well, I'm going to be thinking. Oh, okay. I think we're back. We've got low Wi-Fi. Hopefully you can hear this. So that's not good if I'm thinking negative thoughts about people. I'm going to look at children as a frustration and instead of a blessing. That's not good. Okay. So is there anything good? No, nothing good at all. So I want to go to the next step now. So we weigh the cost. We know that frustration is not healthy and it's not beneficial. Now I need to look at my innovated identity. Okay, who am I? Who did God create me to be? He created me to be someone who is, do you know the fruits of the Spirit? Like, now, if you have not innovated your identity, that's something that I do coach on. I'd be happy to help you with sometime. I will have a course coming out eventually, and it's not completed yet. But basically, you need to look at who you were created to be and know who that is. And you're completely innovating into that. Like you are growing into that, and you are looking at that constantly as who you are, who God made you to be. Okay. So with that, I look at my innovative identity. I'm like, okay, the fruits of the Spirit. I am to be, and this is part of who I am: patient, kind, loving, a whole bunch of other things. And I just named 3 of them that it is not kind of me. And I am a kind person. I really am. I mean, are you kind? I mean, any of you guys out there kind? You may think not always, but is that who you are on the inside, even though you don't always act it out? Yeah, God created us to be kind. We can step into that. So I'm not being who I was created to be when I have those thoughts. I don't have to act them out to be out of alignment with my identity. But my thoughts actually do matter, and they do come across. We actually do emit energy. God created us that way. So even by our glances, our facial expressions and all that. So I'm not in alignment with my identity. What about love? Poof, gosh. Yeah, I caught myself. I'm like, that is not a loving thought. That is not loving when I'm sitting here thinking that what I'm doing is more important than those moms getting to connect and being able to, they were just, they were tuning out the kiddo. Like they were able to tune it out. And do you realize it, him, sorry. When he was there screaming, basically these moms kept talking Do you know how lovely that is? That means that they were choosing to engage and not just pacify a child to give him exactly what he wants at all times. I needed to recognize that because my identity is I really value good parenting. So I am not acting in my innovated identity when I sit there and judge, right? So that's what I'd be doing is frustrated because I'm judging. Ooh, okay. Step back, Renee, right? Step back for a moment. You're not being who you are if you choose to be frustrated right now. Now, does that mean I'm like totally a different person? No, it just means that I'm not acting in my innovated identity right now. And I don't want that. I want to be who God created me to be. So now that I know that and I know who I am and I'm comparing who I'm being in the moment with my innovated identity, I'm comparing that and realizing, ooh, it's out of alignment. So I'm going to go back now and I'm going to choose to navigate. This is the N, WIN, navigate away from frustration. How can I do that right now in this situation that I'm sharing with you? Well, one thing I did was I chose to change my demeanor. I noticed that I was kind of like, just, like when you're frustrated, just kind of like, ugh. Okay. I chose to look over and I smiled at the kiddos. Literally, I smiled at the little girl who was there. She was not the one screaming, but she looked at me and she just kind of smiled back. I got to make a connection and that helped to warm my heart. So that navigated me more towards the opposite of frustration. I also chose to look at compassion. I looked at those moms through different eyes. I stepped back for a moment. I navigated by looking at them and thinking, oh, I remember when I was a young mom. I remember when I had two little ones that were 21 months apart, and I would go somewhere, and when they were both hangry and frustrated themselves, and there I was as a young mom, I wanted to spend time with other women. I am so glad and I'm going to be grateful for them. So I navigated towards gratitude for them. I also put on gratitude for myself. I sat here and realized, you know what, Renee? You have Wi-Fi, you have a brain that God's given you, you have some liquid fuel here, and you're in a good spot. Yes, they will be there for a little bit and it will be frustrating, but it's okay. God's given me time. So look, like I said, they have now left. Wow, okay, I have the rest of the time here. So gratitude, navigate towards gratitude and also compassion. I put myself in their shoes. Sometimes we have to navigate with compassion. Now, this situation I just gave you might not be such a majorly frustrating thing for you. But if you're in a frustration situation that is really large, there are going to be times when you have to use this win method in such a way that it is not as easy. Because let's face it, I could pick up my computer and I could go walk somewhere else. The reason I chose not to do that, by the way, is because I knew they would eventually leave. And I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to give them that energy. I wanted to just show love and light and practice patience myself. Sometimes these situations are of frustration are for us to navigate and recognize and have like growth in our own lives, right? They're little tests for us when they're small, but when they're big, this is huge. I want you to recognize that there are times that frustration is something that navigating might mean that you need to step away. Let's take it from a frustration with maybe a spouse or a coworker or a teenager. Anyone else have teenage daughters? No one know what I'm talking about? Ooh, teenage sons, got one of those too. And there are times where it's just frustrating and we recognize that we're imperfect. We're imperfect people and we are unable to completely get rid of frustration, right? So we need to choose to win that moment, right? So in that navigation, we weigh the cost, even when it's been in a really negative situation and there's no winning in sight. We still get to choose to win that moment. And I want you to claim victory over that choice. So if you are in a situation that's really tough, let's say fighting with a teenage child, right? And you know that the frustration is real. It's not something petty like a kid crying in Panera. It's real. And there's a lot of foundational frustration there that you have a right to be frustrated about. How do we use this then? Weigh the cost. Is that frustration going to pour out of you in love? No, that frustration is going to actually show the ugly side of parenting for me. I need to learn how to choose love in this situation. So if I don't, weighing the cost of that frustration, I'm not going to be a good parent or a good coworker or a good, if you're a Christian, someone who is living out the Lord's love to others in this dark world. So I need to innovate my identity then and recognize, who was I created to be? I wasn't created to be perfect here on earth, because you never will be, but I am created to make decisions and to be a good decision maker. So I'm going to choose in this moment to find some kind of love within me instead of frustration. I'm going to find the truth. And the truth is, I don't have to be in control all the time. God is. Like, for me, God's in control. And I need to remember that and go to Him. I need to go to Him more, especially in those hard situations. And so going back to your identity, look at your identity, where it is, what are your roots, what is true about you, and compare to that. Now, navigating that journey when it's really tough, that may look like, hey, I need to go take a time out right now, and I'm going to go for a drive. Unless you have road rage, don't do that. Go for a walk. It might be that you're going to journal. And I take my journal around with me, because that's something, sometimes, like, that is something where the Lord speaks to me through. Some other ways to navigate when it's a really hard situation so that you can finish that winning process is, it might be that you need to schedule a counseling appointment. You need to talk to somebody. You might need to find a safe community where you are able to process these kinds of things and have a safe place to really get good advice and wisdom and to work through things. And so if that is, then I would highly recommend you check out the Winner Circle. That is a community of safe people and safe places where there's no shame or condemnation. There's also not bent to where it's something where it's ever yucky or anything like that. We coach through how to be able to work through things that we are winning, and that we're winning personally, professionally. So if that is you, check out down here it says bealifewinner.com. If you're already in the Winner Circle and you take advantage of that, go to the Winners Hangouts and take advantage of it. Oh my gosh, this is where a lot of practice so that you can and you things with frustration. Another thing that you can do is find a trusted friend. Find someone that you know is going to allow you to be real, but then also speak truth to you, so that you are not being stuck in your frustration. Ultimately, if you're a believer, oh my gosh, if you're not a believer, go to the Word, go to Psalms, okay? Go to the Bible and Psalms. David talks constantly about his frustrations. He gets frustrated, but you'll see everything go from like how he's really frustrated, and then he takes it to the Lord. So you get a good example of that. And then he's ultimately like being thankful and praising. Like, he changes frustration to this gratitude, right? So go to the Word and get some rejuvenation through God's Word. I love it. Andy said, a psalm a day keeps the devil at bay. Yes, absolutely. So use this win method. I want you to start practicing it in your life for all situations. But today on frustration, it is the secret to not getting frustrated. Because over time, I'm telling you, when you continue to practice this ongoing, okay, you will win. It is a secret weapon in your toolkit that you can win. And I'm here to help you through it. If I can be of help, go ahead and reach out to me, and let's see what we can do to get you some help with that. And yes, so, I love it. My Aunt Brenda's checking in. So she says she loves the freedom to choose her reaction. She doesn't always choose the correct choice. None of us do. And let's be honest, we never will always. Like, always is, we need to just claim that, right? And yet it's being aware that she has a choice in every situation. Thanks for sharing that, because that is exactly it. We always have a choice. We can choose to win. We can choose to be victors. We can choose to be who we were created to be, and ultimately do what we were designed to do. And that is what I'm challenging you today. Go be who you're created to be. Choose to be a winner. You were created to win, not to lose. So choose to win. And do what you're designed to do. You will win at life when you continue to practice this, and you will make your impact in the world. And that was what you're created to be. You have full potential You can actually live out your purpose in this world. And I'm here to help you through it. So have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye bye.